Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film my review video for the Book Naturalist Book Club pick for the month of November. And in November, we have been doing an author spotlight on an Indigenous author, and that person is Linda Hogan, who is a member of the Chickasaw Nation. And this is Indigenous Heritage Month or Indigenous celebration month, and so we thought it'd be a great idea to pick an Indigenous author to read for our author spotlight. And I had never read Linda Hogan before. She was born in 1947 in Oklahoma, in what is known as Indian Territory, and she had lived multiple places around the United States, but she currently lives in Colorado. And she writes in several different genres. She writes poetry, she writes nonfiction, she writes fiction, and all of her stuff relates to the environment, Indigenous ways of knowing, Indigenous spirituality, and Indigenous activism. So what I chose to read for this month is her collection of essays, The Radiant Lives of Animals by Linda Hogan. So this is a lovely little hardcover edition. I want to point out the just absolutely gorgeous artwork that's in this particular edition. This was published first in 2020, and it's just a delightful little collection. It's really a lovely object. It's just this small hardcover, and these line drawings are they really add to the experience of reading this book. And so the collection of essays intermixed with poetry. So there are several poems in the collection, and that also added to, here's a poem right here, added to the enjoyment of reading this collection. So these essays really center on animals and Hogan's relationship with animals and encounters with animals. And the first few essays were more sort of general, broad topic, Native American spirituality, and her connection to some of the Indigenous ways of knowing that have enhanced her life. I didn't connect as much with those as I did in the latter sections of this book, where she really gets into telling stories about her encounters with animals and how those have enhanced her life. Particularly the first essay that sucked me in was the first essay in part 2. It is about horses, and about 2 horses in particular that she adopted. So part 2, the first essay in here is Elk Dog, the horse. And this is a longer essay, and it sucked me in. It was so heartwarming and really fine writing and description of her connection with these 2 animals. And I mean, I'm not a horse person at all by any means, but I was really taken in by that essay. Really loved that essay. And then later essays in the collection talk about birds, butterflies, snakes, wolves, elk, all different kinds of animals and her connection with them. And I think she does a really tremendous job of really talking about animals and connections between humans and animals. Really, really lovely, and just a very soothing and just a lovely way to spend your time with this book and these stories. So I really enjoyed that. It also references her land that she purchased in Colorado that she currently lives on, which is a piece of land that she bought for the express purpose of protecting it from development. And it also is a wildlife corridor. So through this piece of land that she owns, she encounters many different animals that are sort of on a migratory pathway, whether that be wolves, elk, birds, butterflies, other kinds of insects. It's really cool how she encounters a lot of animals. That mountain lions is another one that she has a lot of interactions with. Because of where she is in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains, there's, the migration of different animals, or animals moving through, like wolves who had been introduced into Yellowstone. And that was really cool to read about as well. I really enjoyed that. So I think if you are the kind of person who likes reading animal stories or stories about interactions between humans and animals, you would certainly like this collection. If you like to read about Indigenous ways of knowing, if you read Robin Wall Kimmerer's work and enjoyed that. I think this is a good place for you to go next. Really enjoyed my time with this collection. The poetry is not really something, I mean, I'm not a person who reads a lot of poetry, so that's not something that I really feel comfortable commenting on in terms of a review, because I don't have much background in that subject area to really be able to assess, the quality of it. It seemed really great to me. I like reading poems about animals, and most of her poems are about animals in this collection. So that was good for me as well. She does reference an injury that she had prior to writing this collection, evidently an extremely bad, life-threatening accident where she was riding a horse and somehow something happened she doesn't remember. She got a very serious brain injury and other broken bones and various aspects of her body that had to go through a long healing process. And that is referenced kind of obliquely throughout the collection, and I would really like to know more about that. So I don't know. I did a little bit of Googling to try to find out more about that, but I didn't really find out anything specific about it. So I would be really interested to read more about her struggles with that. I think she does have a memoir out that maybe talks about that a little bit more as well. So I would be interested in reading that, because that sounded like a really harrowing experience. And especially for someone who's a writer, to have a brain injury and to have, parts of her memory were lost, and she had to relearn how to do a lot of tasks, including writing. So I always do like to read a section of the book that we're reading for the Book Naturalist Book Club to give you an idea of the flavor of the writing. So I have a little section marked out. This is from an essay called The Daily Hours. So it says, "When I carry early morning hay to the horses, many crows are there, clawed feet and legs standing stately and wide on their temporary province of land. Large numbers have drifted down to find the seed and grain that pass through the horses. It is a feast for them in their early search through the manure, while nearby are songbirds doing the same, some frantically throwing it in the air as they search for grains. Much undigested food passes through the bodies of the horses, providing a banquet for these birds, rabbits, and other lives. When I step forward, the entire field of crows rises up in a cloud of shining black bodies and wings, obsidian blue-black, all crying out as they lift up and fly in one darkness of cloudy motion. Their wings all at once create a great noise. Left behind, the magpie cousins, blue light on their black feathers, continue to work unperturbed. One flies to the back of the older horse. They have formed a relationship, as an elk sometimes does with a bird. In fact, the healthiest elk is groomed by its bird partner. Both benefit from this friendship as the bird eats ticks or other insects." So I just think that's really lovely description of birds working over a manure pile in the pasture. She just has a way of describing these sort of normal day-to-day activities on a farm or in the countryside that I really appreciate. I will definitely be picking up something else by Linda Hogan. I think this was a really good introduction to this author, and I would be interested in reading more by her. Some of her fiction has won prizes, so that's another area to explore in her bibliography. So this was a great success for me. I'm really glad that we picked Linda Hogan for our Spotlight author for this month, because I always enjoy connecting with new authors and finding new people who I like to read. So in the month of December for the Book Naturalist Book Club, we're going to be going down a slightly different route than we normally do, and we will be reading fiction. We've done this once or twice in the past, and it's always fun to pick up some fiction because it's not something we do very often. But December is a month where there has been a reading theme in the past called Cloak and Dagger Christmas, and that is a theme where you read mystery novels. So we decided to pick a mystery novel for the month of December that was related to nature writing. And the novel that we picked is one called A Solitude of Wolverines by Alice Henderson. I will put the cover up because I will be reading it as an ebook. And this is the first book in the Alex Carter series. Alex Carter is a wildlife biologist, and in this first book in the series, she is studying wolverines in Montana and stumbles across a mystery. And so she has to figure out this mystery all the while studying wolverines and surviving in very harsh conditions. I've heard that this is a really fun mystery series and has a lot that is of interest to us that like to read about nature and animals and all that sort of thing. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. If you did read a book by Linda Hogan in the month of November, please let me know down below which book you chose to read. I would be really interested to know. I'll talk to you later.